Good morning, everybody. How are you doing this morning? Today, we're gonna take a little bit of a tour here. Are you in a transition? Are things changing in your life? Um, is the transition easy or hard? And what's it taking from you? I'm Carol Henderson with Life by Design. And I'm so excited to be here because one of the things we do is help people to learn how to design their lives so that you spiral up instead of spiral down. And this is my wonderful co-host, Miss Barbara Ellison.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Barbara Ellison, and I'm a transformational life trainer, founder of Wellness Playroom. Because I'm on a mission to make happiness the norm. And Carol and I, our two missions, they just really mesh together. And it's because I believe that each and every one of us deserves to lead a happy, healthy, debt-free, and abundant life. And when you have all of those things in your life, of course, you're going to spiral up. It just makes it so much easier. However, it hasn't, for both of us, it has not always been that way because there have been transitions over the years. Carol's story is 40 years worth. We both are, because we're obviously not in our 20s anymore.
Yeah.
So I know. But last week, no, it's been more than that. Anyways, I just turned 73. And one day that we were talking just about birthdays and talk about having a transition, I went, you know what? I'm not getting older. This is just the 23rd anniversary of my 50th birthday.
Well, my mom always said that life begins at 40.
And life begins at 40. And you know what? And I truly believe that 70 is the new 50. It can be the new 50 because we have been given a bill of goods that we have to age, that we have to lose our memory and lose our mobility, all of those things. And now science has finally proving that those things are not, that you don't have to live with them. And so that's what Carol and I are all about. But part of it is mindset also. But how are you handling?
Think about, and I'm going to go there. Okay. Think about COVID.
Yeah.
The numbers were almost equal to the yearly flu as far as deaths.
Right.
But the ticker across your TV every night about, oh, this many people died, this many people are in the hospital, and the thing is, they've never done that before. And it changed our mindset and caused us to fear and caused us to expect people to go in the hospital and people to go, to die. And that is not in any way taking away from all the people who did die, who did go to the hospital, and all those things, and all the grief, and not to mention the people who were forced to die alone.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
I personally believe that God sent the angels there to be with them, and those people in their last moments were comforted. I mean, I have to think that. So I'm not at all taking away from that. But what I'm talking about is the way that through the media and through other things, they can change our perception of the world around us. And that perception spirals us up or down.
Right.
So think about it. Have you ever noticed that there's never any good news anymore? It's always bad news. They talk about tragedy sells, fear sells, and that's what's in the news cycle. And when I was a kid, news was 15 minutes in the evening.
Right.
They had 15 minutes of news. They had 15 minutes of weather, and it was over. The news was 30 minutes, and you didn't get it except maybe in the morning, at night, and then I think they started at noon, and then I think it was the Iraq War when CNN started the 24-hour news cycle. And so that's relatively new that we sit around glued to the news.
Yeah. And I can remember, and this is the last thing we're going to talk about of tragedies. I remember when 9/11 happened. I was absolutely glued to my TV. And then it was the moment of wake up of, Barbara, stop. You have got to stop watching this. I still pray for the people. I pray for the families. And I still do that because it's an ongoing, it was a huge thing that happened. However, Barbara, it was, talk about spiraling down. I was going further and further and further into, I know it was a depression, but at the time it was like, and then all of a sudden, it was God's grace to me that I cannot watch this anymore. So now and that was when I stopped watching the news. I'm a firm believer that if I really need to know something, somebody will make a YouTube video about it, or it'll be on Facebook, or LinkedIn, and somebody will put it out there. And I know that there is tragedy going on in the world and what's happening with Ukraine and all of those things. But you know what? We don't have to dwell in them. We can know about them. There is a difference.
Yes.
And that's what the transition is. When you're handling a transition in your life too, you can know that you need to be in a transition. And if it's a good thing, great. Take the steps to do it. If you're not sure, take the steps to do it. Find out, is this the right thing for me? Like this morning, yesterday, I had an opportunity to watch a documentary on the things that happened back in the 90s in the coal in West Virginia, and some of the things that the people went through, and I have no concept of it. However, when they're watching their houses just being swept away by the water and those kinds of things, and some of the things that the people did to handle it. But they fought for it. They fought and they won in the end. The coal companies had to make restitution, which is absolutely true. So if you have to fight for something, if you have to fight for a transition that you're in right now, go for it. If it's what you're supposed to be doing, and that's what one of the things that one of the characters, she was like, God has called me to this. And I'm a firm believer that Carol and we are called to do what we're doing. It is for such a time as this. As we age, that aging does not have to be scary, and you do not have to lose your mobility or your memory.
Yes. So 2 things on that.
2 things.
I live in the panhandle of Texas. We have been having uncommon rain after several years of drought. My lake that I live on has come up like 10, 15 feet already, just in runoff. But in Amarillo, they have some people, and it's a similar situation. I hadn't, I've known about it, but I hadn't thought about it as the coal. But the city has built this very upscale neighborhood in a playa lake. Now, a playa lake are little flat lakes. They're maybe 5-10 feet deep typically, and they fill up in the rainy sessions and go dry, and the birds eat off of them. And as you fly over this part of the country, you can see, and the big ones are playa lakes. There are also some little things called buffalo wallers, and I didn't know about that.
Okay, we call them retention ponds.
Well, the buffalo wallers are literally where the buffalo went and would waller it out.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a tiny little playa lake, and you can see them spotted all over. But the playa lakes can be quite large, and people tend to build in them. Now, there was one that is at a major intersection here in Amarillo where a major mall was built. But when they did it, they made it deep to catch all the runoff. But over the years, they've concreted much more. Mm-hmm. And so it floods every decade or so. Okay. But this new place where they built a thing called the greenways, and it's a beautiful area inside the city. Well, concreting all that up and paving it and building out into it and stuff caused this Playa Lake, which is just out, well, part of it's just outside the city, but there's families that have lived around that lake for generations. And now, I mean, they're having to evacuate. I mean, 3 and 4 families living with the one family that's not in the Playa Lake flooded and having to be rescued. I mean, we're having in the hundreds of water rescues.
Wow.
Apartments, I mean, all around that one lake that I first talked about, that is all flooded. Major businesses in the city, a lot of them home-owned businesses.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to plug in. Excuse me a moment. Technical difficulties here. I have to plug in.
I'll keep talking then. But anyway, and so the people outside the city are saying, what are you going to do? And the city goes, we have no responsibility. And the county says, we have no responsibility because it's the city's problem. And they're kind of caught in that.
Right. Talk about transition. When are you caught in the middle between two forces?
Well, my hairdresser right now, her salon is dry inside. They can tell that, but they can't get to it because all the roads are closed. I mean, major roads through this town are closed, and this has happened for over a week. Yeah. Over a week, these places have been underwater. And down in Hereford, just south of us, where the major cattle industry for the country, thousands of cattle have drowned because of the water.
Yeah.
So,
you can, I truly believe that transitions come on us. It's how we handle them. And this is kind of like the thing with in Amarillo. This is kind of like the cattle calling the pot black, and the nobody wanting to take responsibility. Work together.
Yeah.
This is for the people of so quit.
And they're pumping the one lake that's flooding all the businesses. They've been pumping it since day one because they had put big pumps in a few years ago. But it just, there was so, I mean, we were getting an inch of rain an hour on the plains, and there's just nowhere for it to go. Right. I mean, it does eventually go, but that, I mean, two inches in, I mean, here up where I live, we got 2 inches one day and an inch the next day. In 24-hour days, but we're high enough that it runs. But some people aren't blessed like that, and it's been kind of hard to see. And I'm personally in a transition, and Barbara's fixing to be in. She's in some transitions of her own, but there's a thing called Alignable, and if any of y'all have businesses, please go sign up for a thing called Alignable. It's like LinkedIn. But they are they're international and in US and Canada, virtual, but they are focusing on in-person meetings
and of local businesses. Get to know your local businesses.
Yes, building up your community. And and we're all about that. So I have been chosen as an ambassador for them for the Alignable of Amarillo community. So you can be friends with me on Alignable if you live in Canada. In fact, I hope you will. But also check it out because you could be your local Alignable ambassador. And so Barbara has applied to be the one up where she lives. And so it's exciting, the people that we're getting to meet.
Yes.
Things, more people that we can help, that we can bring a little light to their world, because the statistics are with your brain, when something happens, okay, whatever it is, even a tragedy, that's kind of beyond a transition, but it will lead to a transition. But that 90% of what happens is your attitude. 10% is the thing itself.
Right.
You're in a wreck.
Right.
Where is your attitude? I have a friend that was in a bad wreck, totaled the truck she was in. She was in a new pickup, and a guy ran a red light and hit her. And so she was really struggling with her health, and finally she thought, I am not going to be sick anymore. This is enough. My body's got to get better. And she said she could tell when she shifted in
Right.
mindset. Yeah, yes, she was damaged. Yes, she's under care, but the way she responded to it, and
Right.
the way her body responded back to her, she started getting better.
Right. It's like I tell the story of my dad when he was I think he was 82.
Yeah.
And he got really, really sick, and he was in the hospital, and he said, "Oh, I've lived a good life." So I'm in my 80s, because that's the prevailing thing. Oh, you're in your 80s, you've lived a good life. Well, yeah, but we're supposed to live to be 150. So why cut yourself short? Anyways, and then my sister looked at him. We were all there, and my sister looked at him and said, "Daddy, I thought you wanted your letter from the Queen." We literally watched the wheels start to turn in his eyes. And the next thing out of his mouth was, "I do want my letter from the Queen." And you get a letter from the Queen at the time, and you will now, but from the Queen, I mean, she was the longest reigning monarch in history. And he was like, "I do want my letter." And he lived to be 102. So not only did he get his letter from the Queen, he got a letter from the Prime Minister of Canada. He got a letter from his mayor. He got a letter from the Premier of Quebec. It was the whole 9 yards. And I have his letter to the Queen on my wall, from the Queen on my wall. And it's a testament to mindset.
Yes.
How you think about what you're saying. And that we're not saying that he got well in that second, but the wheel started to turn, and that's when we knew he was going to get well, because he had made the decision that he wanted to be well.
Yes.
And it was like, and he lived to be 102. He lived 20 more years from that day.
Well, and it goes back to what our friend Jim says. It's got 37.2 trillion cells eavesdropping on your every thought.
Yeah, exactly.
People are starting to realize how important it is to watch the words of their mouth. But the Bible also says, take every thought captive.
Yeah.
Things that are good, things that are perfect, things that are excellent. Think on these things. But because what you focus on is what
expands,
come to pass. And so many people, they get an illness, or how many people break a bone, end up in the hospital, and just spiral down from there.
Right.
And
exactly.
And never come home, or never get out of the wheelchair, or whatever, and are on their deathbed next thing you know.
That's like, I have a couple of people that I know that it's like they died 10 years ago. Their body just hasn't got the message yet, because they're just sitting there. They are literally sitting there just waiting for their body to die. How sad is that? I'm talking to somebody. Don't do that. Find the thing that will spark your soul. It says in the word that God's word will be a lamp for our feet and a light to our path. Ask, what should I be doing to get over this, whatever this is? What transition that you are in, and it can be physical, it can be mental, it can be financial. What do I need to be doing, or what do I get to do? Better question. What do I get to do to move past this?
Yes.
And there will be an answer. Literally, there will be an answer.
Your job is not done. He needs you, especially if you're being a light.
Yeah.
Because there's people out there, there are children that don't have an adult to look up to. There's young mothers that don't have someone to look up to, or someone to just, not that you have to do anything, just to come alongside them
Yeah,
And
just talk to them.
Yeah, just listen and let them, hear their heart and pour into them your wisdom.
Yeah.
And so, yes,
Yeah. And it's never too late to start something. I think that's the biggest thing. It's never too late to start something new. And it's all in your, in fact, a friend of mine and I, we're going to do is have a little thing tomorrow on self-perception. How you see yourself. Well, how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as sickly and weak, or do you still see yourself as strong and powerful?
exactly.
Well, it's a choice. See yourself as strong and powerful. You might not be there right now, right this instant, but you can be there because you can take steps. And one of the things I had a guy one day, he was talking about, he was talking about that how bad his knee was. And he said, I'm really having trouble with my knees. And I said, well, do you exercise your knees? He says, well, I'm having really, I can't stand because I've had I can't remember exactly what had happened. I said, well, can you lift while you're sitting? Can you sit with your feet on the floor and lift your toes? He said, well, of course I can do that. I said, well, then start doing that. He came back probably a couple of weeks later and he said, Barb, every time I sit down, I lift my toes one at a time. And then one at a time, one at a time. And I'm doing it as I'm saying. So if you're sitting right now with your feet on the floor, lift your toes.
Because you're talking about it.
Because I find I do it whenever I'm talking about it. Because, and then, so you lift your right one, your left one, and then lift both of them. Your right one, your left one, you lift your both one. And where are you feeling it? You're feeling it across the tops of your thigh and into your knees. And it exercises the muscles of your legs. So if you want to get stronger in your legs, then start moving your toes. That's where you start. And then, so after a couple of weeks, he said, gee, Barb, he said, it's working. And I'm like, and I think he still does it. And then you start lifting your whole foot. Because then that's moving you up into your core to get get a little bit of your strength back.
Yes.
Well, just start.
We interviewed a young lady that, and I think she was on Aging Experts, but her name is Donna Pappengeller.
Donna.
You can search in our library for that. And she gave everybody an exercise to do that will help your balance. And yes. It's a standing exercise, but it works. I noticed a difference. I had a car wreck and had where that I had to struggle back. It was the point of I would walk up and stutter step at a curve like an old person. And I'm like, I'm not this old. I was not stutter stepping before that, but I was then. And I started doing that. I mean, I had gotten better already, but I mean, I could not any longer stand like in the middle of the bathroom and put on my underwear. I had to hold on and put on one leg at a time after this wreck because I didn't have the balance strength to hold me upright. And this exercise is excellent. But she was the first woman trainer in Major League Baseball. So, yeah.
So just take the small steps. So just do something.
In every area of life, take the baby steps.
Don't
stutter step, but take the baby steps.
Take the baby steps. So especially if you're in a transition, take a baby step. You can do it.
Put in the chat. We would love to hear what transition you are in. Because every one of us is in a transition of some kind, almost all the time. So,
yes.
If you're on Facebook, please click like and share. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know when we have an episode coming out, and share with your friends and give us a thumbs up because that helps with the algorithms. So y'all have a wonderful day and keep spiraling up.
And we'll see you next time. Have a good one.